Space Force could be needed to battle space pirates.
Section 51.
Section 51.
Section 51.
Hi everyone, what's up? I am JH aka DoseGeek back here with you and Section 51. Thank you again for liking and sharing our videos. Thank you for supporting our channel. The recent idea of launching the Space Force will be a big step toward the government's acknowledgement of extraterrestrials and technology gleaned from crashed alien spacecraft, what the UFO community calls full disclosure. The Space Force plan pits Mr. Trump against his natural enemy, the deep state within the federal government. The deep state is also the keeper of alien secrets, according to UFO researchers. Concerning this issue, Senator Ted Cruz, R. Texas, and chairman of the Subcommittee on Aviation and Space, issued a dire warning about space pirates in support of appropriations to fund Space Force, President Trump's proposed off-planet expansion of the US military. But what did he mean? As said Cruz, since the ancient Greeks first put to sea, nations have recognized the necessity of naval forces and maintaining a superior capability to protect waterborne travel and commerce from bad actors. Pirates threaten the open seas, and the same is possible in space. In this same way, he believes we too must now recognize the necessity of a space force to defend the nation and to protect space commerce and civil space exploration. For starters, the Trump administration is seeking $2 billion in new funding from Congress for the creation of Space Force. The new military branch is projected to number about 15,000, most of whom will be transferred from existing positions. In future years, its annual budget could amount to an additional $500 million over the $10 billion already being spent on unclassified space programs. Although armed Somali pirates terrorized the waters off the Horn of Africa a decade ago, their activity has diminished in recent years thanks to a robust military response from several nations, including the United States. Venezuela's descent into political chaos is partly blamed for a rise in Caribbean piracy. Yet, none of those threats possess the resources to mount a credible threat beyond the confines of Earth's atmosphere. Nor is there any interplanetary commerce to present a lucrative target for pirates. But one day, maybe, who knows? In February 2019, Trump signed a directive ordering the Pentagon to establish Space Force as the sixth branch of the US military. Months earlier, a super PAC supporting the president asked supporters to vote on a new logo for the extraterrestrial troopers. When Democrats retook control of the US House of Representatives, however, the prospects for Space Force grew uncertain. In March 2019, Republican Adam Smith, who chairs the House Armed Services Committee, tried to temper Space Force expectations. Finally, it seems that it's going to be different from what the White House proposed. 3 more 4-star generals are not going to make us stronger in space. And even some of Trump's Republican defenders have questioned the premise that America needs to create a new military branch and over jurisdiction of space and its pirates from the Air Force. But why a Space Force? Well, firstly, in the next conflict, if it involves a major power or even a mid-sized power increasing, it will of course have operations in space. And by the way, those operations in space, while we tend to focus on the really cool images of a kinetic anti-satellite weapon just colliding with and blowing up into fragments, could also include cyber attacks where the satellite turns itself off, for example. And a lot of countries are developing that set of capabilities. So because a lot of people will have the ability to operate in space, because of the importance of space to us, we need to be thinking about that set of capabilities that is encompassed by our space systems. For better or worse, the only way you are going to do that at this point, it seems, is to have a service, a space force if you will, whose job is to be thinking about this, living, eating, breathing, sleeping space, and thinking about what kinds of systems to acquire, and part of that of course is how to pay for it. The Trump administration with Space Directives 1, 2 and 3 has now basically directed the US government to be even more open to commercial space opportunities. And we can think that when you look at where innovation tends to come from, and tends to come from the private sector, there are certain things, building things like the Hubble, the James Webb Space Telescope, that probably can only be done by the government. There is also basic research. There is not much of a profit there, and it's a long-term investment. But when it comes to commercializing something, to making something cheaper, faster, more flexible, that's the private sector. And one of the things that the administration has done now is it has tried to neck down and streamline the bureaucracy, because that's been one of the great obstacles to allowing the commercial sector to really flower with regards to space. Maybe in the next years we are going to see the Commerce Department and the Transportation Department really sort of get on top of how do we create a real one-stop shop. If you want to put a satellite up, if you want to do space tourism, go here, fill out these forms, check these boxes, and hey, welcome to the space company. Yes, so a lot of new perspectives in space, and it has to be considered and maybe regulated. As it was said, the Trump administration described Space Force as a military branch charged with defending US assets in space, such as satellites, and fending off cyber attacks. The Defense Department for years warned that the US is unprepared for confrontation in space with Russia and China, which have been building capabilities to knock out satellites that are vital to communications, navigation, and intelligence. The Pentagon prefers to keep space operation within the Air Force. A draft of the Pentagon-backed legislation to establish the Space Force would organize it under the Air Force, similar to the way that the Marines are organized under the Navy. The President alone cannot create a military branch. It takes an act of Congress, so Mr. Trump has initiated the process. But is the Space Force related to the secret Defense Department program? And classified missions? Some UFO researchers believe that we have technology which has been reverse engineered from aircraft that are not from here, and that we are probably using that technology someplace. Some tourists even talked about secret space programs at the Pentagon, including a Navy operation in deep space with miles-long space carriers that use a Space Marine as a fighting force. They see Space Force as strong evidence of UFO visitors. The outer reaches of the UFO community also believe that President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed a secret treaty in 1954 with an alien race known as the Greys. The two sides agreed in the Greada Treaty not to interfere with each other's affairs. Also, under the treaty, the Greys would share technology with the US, and the aliens would be allowed to abduct humans for various experiments, provided they submit the names of abductees to a secret government committee known as the Majestic 12. Firstly, are all these informations true? And secondly, if they are true, did they play a role in the decision-making process to create a space force? Does Mr. Trump secretly know the truth about extraterrestrial visitors? Does he know something about ETs that he can't share publicly? Some people believe he has been briefed. What is sure is that Robert Heinlein would be happy to know that his Starship Troopers and mile-long space cruisers are real to some people. And you, what do you think about the Space Force? Will it be enough to push back cyber attacks, space pirates, or even more some kind of space invaders? Please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. As usual, don't forget to like and share our videos, have a look and order your amazing Section 51 t-shirt in our Spreadshirt shop. Link is here below. I'll be back really soon. Open your eyes, watch the sky, live long and prosper.